What's going on, guys? K-Pan here and welcome back. And in this video, I'll be featuring Malamar in the Open Great League. With the most recent season, Psywave has been buffed with an energy generation increase. This buff tends to only affect Malamar, however, due to it being really the only PvP viable Pokemon with the move. However, Psywave is so much more improved that Malamar now prefers it over Psycho Cut. As a matter of fact, Psywave has the same energy per turn and damage per turn as Shadow Claw, except it's a one-turn move, making it better than Shadow Claw, which is crazy. So crazy that it boosts Malamar up to number 11 on the PvPoke Great League rankings. So in this video, we'll be seeing if Malamar really lives up to it. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the next battle, we lead Malamar into Wigglytuff. Terrible lead, but that's why we have two better answers in the back. We have the Shadow Walrein for the safe swap to bait out any fighters that the Ferrothorn doesn't want to see, as well as Ferrothorn to cover those fairy types that Malamar does not want to see. My opponent swaps into a Shadow Golurk, and trainer, this is not an answer to a Shadow Walrein. I will be able to flip switch here, as look how much damage those Shadow Powder Snows are doing. And now, I'm not just running Shadow Walrein on the safe swap here due to it being, earlier in the season and wanting to give it some play, considering I'm a massive fan of the Walrus. But I feel like Shadow Walrein, or just Walrein for that matter, can make a little bit of a resurgence this season. With a lot of the main fighters dropping off due to the nerf to counter, and then the rise of the new fighters being more focused around Karate Chop, which is more energy based than damage based, as well as there being a lot of Clodsire and Mandibuzz, along with other ground types like that everywhere. Walrein serves as a good counter or core breaker to a lot of those teams, so I would not be surprised to see it around more often. This matchup Ferrothorn is, since we were able to flip switch, that matchup was instantly over with our Ferrothorn onto the Wigglytuff as we land one Power Whip, get to another Power Whip before the Charm down, take out the Wigglytuff, and now Malamar is up here against that Gashadon. The Psywave animation is so funny, seeing Malamar just fling around its tentacles like that. I don't know, there's just something that's really entertaining about that. Now we just wait to throw until we get to the back-to-back superpowers. So first superpower can land, and the second one, which we do win CMP tie over the Gashadon for, will be able to take it out. GG's. Next battle, we lead Malamar into Girafarig. Fantastic matchup for us, as a foul play will just one-shot the Girafarig. And my opponent's staying in, so you know what? We're going to fire off this foul play, see what my opponent wants to do. They have to give up a shield here, but they don't. I don't know, maybe they weren't expecting foul play to do that much. It's a Girafarig. I honestly couldn't tell you. We safe swap into our Walrein. They bring in a Bastiodon, and here, since our Malamar does have access to superpower, we just want to get shields down, so we're not going to bait in this matchup. We full send that Earthquake, almost one-shots the Bastiodon, and from here, Walrein did its job, right? Was able to bait out the Bastiodon, put the Ferrothorn on Pokemon we want it to, and now Malamar is able to get a very nice Psycho Cut down here. So back in comes that Wigglytuff. We are going to fire off a superpower and then dip into our Ferrothorn, and from here, this match is over. It was over before, but now it is officially over as my opponent tops left. GG's. Next battle, we lead Malamar into Dunsparce. Pretty good matchup for us, as we do have access to that superpower. Want to see what my opponent wants to do. They swap into a Sableye, and now we're going to go for the foul play right away. It does take 12 Psywaves to get to a foul play, or 12, then 11, then 11. So the one turn it takes to swap right there from my opponent's side, throwing that foul play will be on, right away, will be on good timing. Now here I'm going to swap into my Walrein. I do expect them to go for the double foul plays, but they full send the return. So that's a very nice play by them, so they can flip switch now. I'm not quite able to make the Earthquake, but it does not matter since my opponent decided to give up their second shield. A little bit surprising, but I can kind of understand that if they're wanting to preserve health onto their Sableye. Back in comes the Malamar. I'm calling another foul play. This time it is a foul play, and now I'm going for a foul play of my own, but my opponent makes a catch. I should have been a little bit more patient there, a little more cognizant of the swap, as that's a catch that, probably shouldn't have happened. Just kind of I was playing on autopilot, just looking to throw it right away, and just got to be a little bit more patient there to avoid that catch. So now I have to swap into my Ferrothorn, give up a shield to their Crush Top, go for the power up to take it out, and what honestly probably should have been in pretty decent position for and be able to land that superpower on that Shadow Machamp instead, it's now going to get a little bit tricky. Because even though this Dunsparce is hitting for resisted damage with the rollouts, another move that got buffed this season, it can hit neutrally with the Drill Run. They will need 2 from this range as the Drill Run is non-stab, but still it's matchup's a bit uncomfortable. Fortunately for us, we are able to play to the CMP tie here, so we don't allow my opponent to overfarm any. This is just going to allow me to let it go and set up a very nice Psycho Cut farm down for the Malamar if they stay in, which they throw one more rollout and then swap into their Sableye, and now it's going to be very close because we're on 1 HP. Foul play knocks out the Sableye. Do we get the Psywave farm down? We do, and Malamar is able to clutch it up for us there in the end game. GG's. Next battle, Malamar into Clodsire. Fantastic lead as we are hitting for super effective damage with these Psywaves. They swap into their Shadow for Alligator, and we have a good answer for it in the Ferrothorn. Now, we don't need switch advantage here either, because Shadow Walrein has a great matchup against the Clodsire, so we're either just going to play for switch if my opponent plays it out in the zeros, or if they want to give up a shield, that's perfectly fine, as shield advantage Walrein tends to do really well, especially when their Clodsire has nowhere to go. But I will give up 1 shield in this matchup because I want to get their shields down. I want to get their shields down all the way to allow Walrein a chance to sweep or keep switch advantage here. Seems like my opponent is fine with keeping switch advantage here. Honestly, I would have preferred them giving up their second shield to take switch, but it's okay. We're able to land 1 Power Whip, not able to land the other as my opponent gets a very nice Poison Sting farm down. And I can't quite bring in Walrein since they do have access to the super effective Stone Edges. So I bring in Malamar to take that energy instead. And now, so they land the Earthquake. We're firing off a Foul Play in return. Foul Play does decent damage. And here I can just let this go because this is Powder Snow farm down range for the Walrein. So it's all going to depend on what my opponent has in the back. 1 shield Walrein against the 1 shield Shadow Golurk. And Walrein is going to be able to close this out for us. Shadow Golurk will be able to land 1 Shadow Punch, but here Walrein is going to be able to outpace the 2 Icicle Spears before they reach 2 Shadow Punches. So first Icicle Spear comes through, 1 more Powder Snow, then the Icicle Spear is reached before they reach their second Shadow Punch. Down goes the Golurk, and now we're able to get a nice Powder Snow farm down of the Clodsire. GG's. Next battle, Malamar into Alolan Marowak. Beautiful lead for the Malamar as we do have access to the super effective foul plays. Load up on energy, fire off the foul play. This appears to end up being on a CMP tie, kind of a risky play there. I didn't mean to. I meant to throw out 1 Psywave before, but these are, kind of my first battles with this, getting used to the animation and how it works to be able to throw on good timing. And now they bring in a Charger Bug, and if you'll notice, my entire team is kind of weak to that Charger Bug. So we're going to chip it and then swap into our Ferrothorn, where my opponent can only hit for neutral damage with those Exeter's as opposed to super effective damage by staying on with the Malamar or coming in with the Walrein. So 1 Bullet Seed and then Power Whip for good timing. I'm expecting my opponent to let it go because I'm honestly not sure if that Power Whip KOs yet, but they end up shielding it, and that's kind of fine, as they're able to get off another X-Scissor, doesn't threaten the KO, and now they swap out to save it. Very nice play, because now they get a nice Fire Spin farm down. Kind of an advantage of that 50-second switch timer now, allowing my opponent to swap out and make that play. And I decided to put on 2 shield Walrein. I'm like, okay, you know what? Alolan Marowak lead, Charger Bug, safe swap. Surely their 3rd Pokemon is weak to Walrein, and putting up 2 shields to 0 is going to put me in a very good situation, right? They come back in Charger Bug here, and I'm thinking, okay, that's a good sign. They'll be able to strip away my second shield, but I'll be able to get up an extra energy and do well against what they have in the back, and it's a Feraligatr. Unfortunately, Feraligatr is not quite what Walrein was wanting to see there, as they do reach the Hydro Cannon to take us out. GG's. Next battle, Malamar into Altaria. Honestly, an argument could be said for me swapping into my Ferrothorn here, but Ferrothorn also doesn't have the best matchup to Altaria, so I wanted to overfarm some, get a foul play's worth of chip, and then swap out of this matchup. And since I already chipped it a little bit, I then come in with Walrein, because this is now basically in Thunder range. So there's really no need for me to come in Ferrothorn here, especially if they have an answer to the Walrein or the Ferrothorn. Like a fighter, I'd rather have it come out onto the Walrein. But they come in with a Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and even though this is nice to bait out here, it's kind of a tricky matchup still. Build up to Earthquake, bait with the Icicle Spear. We do get the shield. We're not going to quite make it to another Earthquake, so we have to settle for an Icicle Spear. And now here's a test. How good is my opponent counting? Their counting was not good enough, as we do end up getting their second shield. And now Malamar will be able to land a superpower onto the Sandslash to get rid of it. This will be massive overkill onto the Sandslash, as it's double super effective damage. Down it goes. They come in a Feraligatr. We are able to outpace to this second superpower, which should be nice chip damage. Honestly, this is probably a misplay, throwing off a debuffed superpower like that. When I saw it was a Feraligatr, should have just swapped into my Ferrothorn right away, since I'm going to need to land a move against it regardless. As you'll see here, I am firing off a Power Whip, so that was a misplay staying in with the Malamar there, but we are still able to take out the Feraligatr and outpace to another Power Whip here against Altaria. This won't quite KO, but it forces them to have to throw a move since they can't get the farm down in time, and in them throwing a move, my Malamar will just be able to Psywave down and take the win, as it does just that. GG's. Next battle, we lead Malamar into Shadow Machamp. Fantastic, exactly where we want to see this. And they're staying in. That's amazing. I don't know, maybe they're core broken to the Malamar, potentially Clodsire behind it. Now they stay in just to throw that move, and then they swap into a Mandibuzz, and I have a great answer to the Mandibuzz. I decided to shield this because if it is the Dark Pulse, I don't want them to potentially shield and then go for Aerial Aces later. If I shield the Dark Pulse, my Walrein's able to leave with a ton of HP in this matchup or overfarm quite a bit, and that's going to put me into a very advantageous position. Unfortunately, they're running Foul Play, so they're able to get a Foul Play's worth of chip there, which kind of sucks a little bit, as well as reaching an Aerial Ace. So definitely would have preferred them to be on Dark Pulse, which would have been a lot better for me in this matchup if they were. But honestly, it's not terrible, because we do leave with 2 Icicle Spears stored. First one to get the shield from the Shadow Machamp. Second one to get the second shield. And now I can just bring in my Malamar, and we're honestly in a good spot. They catch the Foul Play, which happens to be on that Clodsire like we thought it was. But now I can just farm back up, store a move, swap into my Ferrothorn, and this is just game over. All I need to do is save a shield for my Malamar in this situation, so that if the Machamp is able to leave with 2 moves in this situation, I can just CMP tie them on the first move, give up my shield, and then take them out with it. So Clodsire is able to land that Earthquake, 1 Bullet Seed, and then the Power Up for good timing. They swap into the Machamp, trying to get the snipe with the farm down. Can't quite do it, as this Power Whip will take out the Machamp, and we Bullet Seed down the Clodsire, so it seems like we didn't even need that Malamar after all. GG's. Next battle, Malamar into Shadow Kanto Marowak. Honestly, neutral lead there for the Malamar, but I do swap out into the Shadow Walrein since I do have 2 better answers for it, and I want to see if I can bait out that fighter. Instead, we bait out a Charjabug, so it's not going great, but they make a mistake in letting me get to a second Icicle Spear before they throw a move, so I can now force a shield from them, which is fantastic. We do force a shield. Shadow Walrein did its job. We can let it go. Now we can bring in our Malamar, and we're going to go for an aggressive Psywave farm down here. I'm thinking, you know what? It's a clone to that of Shadow Claw. There's no way they're going to be able to reach 2 moves before we get a Psywave farm down. So I give up a shield. We're going for it. And my opponent gets DRE, forcing me to have to give up a second shield, because that's a double super effective X-Scissor, which just one-shot the Malamar. But that DRE is so unfortunate for us there, as with that extra shield, we would be in such a better position. But we're going to be able to, but we work with what we have, and we're going to see what we can do. We land the superpower, swap into a Ferrothorn, and it's a Clodsire. And since it's a Clodsire, this matchup is doable. If we had that shield still, it would just be an instant win, but down the shield, it's a little uncomfortable, but still doable. We just need to make sure we throw on good timing, which, speaking of good timing, my opponent throws on bad timing, giving me a free bullet seed, and that is crucial. Because as you'll see here, we're able to land 1 Power Whip, and then we get to the second Power Whip before they're able to reach a second move. So this will force a shield from my opponent. Now I can just swap into my Malamar, go for the Psycho Cut farm down. Not quite able to get it, but that's perfectly fine. As, oh, I mean, Earthquake didn't quite KO yet. I was expecting it to KO, and then Ferrothorn to be able to deal with the rest. But Malamar just does it itself. It's like, Ferrothorn, I don't need you anymore. I got this. I can close out the match, and it does. GG's. Next battle, Malamar into Kangaskhan. Haven't seen one of these, I think, really ever. But due to it having Mud Slap, I guess it's now kind of instantly meta just because of how good Mud Slap is. They build up to a Crunch. Fire that off. I can let it go. They try and catch a move onto their Azu, but we're patient. We don't let that happen. And now we can counter swap with our Ferrothorn. And boy, this is looking a lot like a Fossil Cup here. Ferrothorn on a Azumarill. But no, this is the Open GreatLeague. As we are able to land 1 Power Whip, they land a Hydro Pump. So it looks like they're on Hydro Pump Play Rough. I mean, even if they're on Hydro Pump Play Rough is still the better move to go for there. So a little bit of an interesting play, as we will go for the Power Whip to take out the Azu, and then another Power Up to the Kangaskhan. And the Kangaskhan's gonna have to throw a move against the Ferrothorn. Otherwise, I will reach yet another Power Whip. So they do fire off that move right here. Ferrothorn did more than its job. We let it go. And here we can bring him back to Malamar. And they have a Jump Bluff him back. And what do you know? Shadow Walrein is going to annihilate the Jump Bluff. 5 Powder Snows to the Icicle Spear is enough to KO that Jump Bluff. And my opponent, you know, kind of just tapping away at this point, as they don't have a win condition left. I guess their win condition would be me no shielding that move. So all I need to do is just shield that, and this is game over. First Icicle Spear does get the shield. Honestly, props to my opponent for playing it out, looking for any win condition they can have, as you'll never know what can appear. But we do reach that second Icicle Spear to take out the Kangaskhan, and that's a good game. GG's. Next battle, we lead Malamar into Clodsire. Yet another Clodsire lead, and a good lead for the Malamar. They swap into a Pangoro, and I'm like, oh no. This thing kind of just beats my entire team, you know? So honestly, Malamar matchup isn't terrible into it, because I guess Malamar does have access to the superpower. But I go for Night Slash Bakes. I'm like, surely they shield. They say swap the Pangoro. Sure. They don't shield. I'm like, what? So I went from a kind of an uncomfortable spot to just a downright terrible spot. As now we're just going to full send the superpower, and they shield this one. What do you know? What do you know? So we're just going to let it go. Down goes the Malamar, and I'm going to go for an aggressive Powder Snow farm down here with the Walrein. I will have to give up 1 shield to respect the close combat, which I do, but this is going to allow me to get a farm down, a lot of energy, and we're down a shield. So we're going to see what they want to do. Do they come back in with that Clodsire? No, they come in with a Gastrodon. So we throw 4 Powder Snows on the move for good timing. And honestly, I still have a pretty decent win condition here at this point, despite that misplay there in the Pangoro matchup. So we are able to force a shield. I want to keep my Walrein around for that pressure against the Clodsire. So I swap right away knowing they're at a body slam. Fortunately, they don't overfarm when we are able to make that catch. And now that puts us in an even better situation here. Or a good situation, I should say, because it was fairly neutral up until that moment. We do land the Power Whip. They land an Earthquake. One more Bullet Seed and then the Power Whip. Nice damage on to the Clodsire. And here we get to the next Power Whip on the CMP tied to their move. This will take out the Clodsire. Now I can just instantly swap into my Wall Rain. They're 2 Mud Slaps away from a move. We're 2 Powder Snows away from the move. We outpace, take care of the Gastrodon, and that is a good game. GG's. So did Malamar live up to its number 11 spot in the PvPoke rankings? I honestly think so. This thing can spam off moves with decent fast move pressure. Its fast move is a 1-turn Shadow Claw variant. It has good coverage. It performed well in these battles. Yeah, I can see it. Added to that, it's fun to use, so I'd say it's definitely worth considering when team building now. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.